Hello, and thank you for tuning in. My name is Dominic, or D for short, 1E, and this is my place. It's a safe space I created to talk about life, real life, no filter, no judgment. So, let's jump right into this week's episode. Hello, and welcome back to Dee's Place. So I hope you had a chance to watch last week's episode where I talked about where I was in my hurt to hope journey, and I also talked about my issues and my concerns with trust. So for this episode, Champagne, Cocktails, and Conversations at Dee's Place, I've brought together a group of awesome friends to help me talk about trust. Hey! On my left, we have Kevin and Tiffany. They have been married for
7 years.
7 awesome years. We have my main man,
Paul.
P. Diddy.
Bache.
P. Diddy.
Williams.
P. Diddy.
I just want to say this. This is not therapy, although the conversation might enter the realm of therapeutic conversation. This is not therapy, so please do not take that as such.
And I understand why you said that. So Paul actually is a licensed therapist. And then to my right, I have my sister and friend, Pam. And then I have the newlyweds who've been married for
2 months.
Jeremiah.
Courtney.
Awesome. So we're going to jump right into this conversation to talk about trust. And yeah, I hope you enjoy it. I think the best way to get started is to understand how many of us sitting here are a give trust until somebody does something to break it type person. I know. Okay, so we got 4 definite give trust until it's broken.
Yep, I am not.
Okay, so
they have to earn it with me.
Okay.
Same with me. You definitely have to earn it before I give it.
Okay.
I think it goes on the individual with me. I mean, some people some people you can trust from what you see in them, and certain people you just got a feeling that, hey, you know what, I need to feel them out a little bit more before I can open up to them.
Okay. So what makes you, is there something in a person that makes them, you got to feel them out a little bit more, or tell me more about that?
Since it's kind of based on relationships,
Yeah.
if you've been in different relationships, you develop trust issues through all of them. Everything you've been in creates you now. Mm-hmm. And for me, when I met her, wasn't that I couldn't trust her or I would trust her. It's just something that I developed over time from getting to know her and still getting to know her, because we're new in the marriage and we was new in the relationship.
I think it comes with wisdom and age too, because when you're young, you don't really know what to look for in people. As we get older, we're all adults here, so you've met people over time. You've seen the people that are bad for you. You've seen the people that are good for you. You've seen the people you now actually trust. So you now know what traits to look for in people too. Mm-hmm. Right. So as you go through your day, month, years, looking at people, and you can see exactly what you're looking for in people that allows you to give that trust over to. I didn't have any best friends until I was in my 20s because I didn't know what to look for. But now I'm 39. I know what to look for.
Right. So. What about a situation where you have built up a level of trust with someone, but that trust was broken?
I personally have had that before. Like for me, I trust a lot. So, and that's just my experience, because I trust that whatever happens to me, I can bounce back. Mm-hmm. So I trust myself in how I can deal with that more than what anybody else can do to me. Mm-hmm. It's a good thing and a bad thing, because you allow some things to happen to you and then you find yourself in these positions. But having somebody, whether it's a friend or a relationship where you've developed this relationship where you guys can get along, you guys can share secrets, and then that secret is shared, mm-hmm. or your trust is taken advantage of. What do you do with that after a long period of time? How do you now speak to that person? Do you cut them out? Do you have a conversation with them? Right. There's a vulnerable moment that I used to be able to share with you, but now I can't, because now it's just not safe for me.
Absolutely. So how do we get through that?
I mean, if you guys have that conversation where you say, I used to be able to share this stuff with you, but I no longer can, so our relationship is different. Do you understand that? And then
So people grow and evolve anyway in relationships. So the person who's your best friend in junior high might not be your best friend today, or you might not have the same level of trust for that person. But it has a lot to do with the growth. Like, I'm a different person today than I was at that time in my life, and she's a different person today than she was, and we've grown in separate directions. So it's not everything that I could say to her then I can't necessarily say to her now, and it's just more because of who we are. So my relationship with other people have developed into that space. But it's just life, and people grow, so sometimes your trust changes.
That's good.
I always say relationships are constantly growing. They're either growing together or growing apart.
Yeah. Good. Okay. So we're going to transition the conversation to a twist on trust. And we know that trust is about you trusting someone, but I want to talk about you trusting that that person trusts you as well.
I can't say that I care.
And I can't say that I've ever thought about that. It's never been a consideration.
No, I disagree. I have. Because I have a feeling always if I'm going to trust that person, I expect them to trust me.
Expecting somebody to trust you is one thing.
Not saying they do.
Right. But that's what I'm
expecting.
saying. And I'm saying I can't say that I care because I'm a genuine person. And the person that I present to you is a character that you can trust. And if you can't trust that or see that I'm a genuine person, and when I give you the love that I have in this friendship, if you can't accept that and trust that, then there's nothing else that I can do. Because this is who I am, and I'm not going to change who I am to gain your trust.
And I think the really, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say I feel like you shouldn't be in my space. Like if you don't feel like you can trust
Was that for me?
Not
No.
you. I'm just saying, like a friend, a lover, a husband. Like if you don't feel like you can trust me, then why are you even?
I agree with Tiffany. That's why I probably never thought about it, is because I feel like you would be around me, you would be in my space, we would hang out or do whatever because you trust me.
Right. Yeah.
So, and I agree with you, but have you had or have you experienced where instead of trusting that they can handle it or trusting that they know you enough and love you enough to accept whatever it is you have to tell them, whatever truth it is you have to tell them, you hold back that because you're afraid that if you tell them the truth, it's going to hurt them much more than just allowing them to believe the lie you're allowing them to believe.
Well, I think go ahead.
No, you go.
Go ahead. No.
I think that come into being that I'm newly married. It's things that I got to give her with mercy and grace, but I still got to give her the truth. Whether it hurts her or not, I just got to give that truth with mercy and grace. And with certain friends, I do that. I can't worry if you're going to trust me. I still have to tell the truth.
Well, I was just thinking about different levels of relationship, as you talked about before. Like if you're talking about a friend, not everything that I need to say is important for you to know. So if you're talking about a significant other, you at the beginning stages of relationship, I can tell you something, I can pay attention to something. Whether you're able to receive it is a moment of us getting to build the relationship. So I want you to get to the point where you trust me. So when I come into a relationship, I'm wide open. There's no change. Like people say, like it's hard to read you. You don't have to read me. You just have to listen to what I'm saying. Because I'm going to tell you everything. So as your relationship develops, for me to be able to tell you, that's not cool. It's a way of delivery. I think that's the biggest thing. Because that's when you know your partner. You can tell the truth, but it's about how you deliver it. Like you're not doing it in a way that you're trying to destroy that person, or you're trying to belittle that person, or you're trying to be above that person, or trying to be bigger and better. But having a conversation with them and telling them the truth and say, here's the truth. And if they can't accept it, then that's a different conversation.
But my issue with that is getting back to the conversation, because I have a tendency to not tell somebody something that I feel like they should know in a moment. Because a lot of times it may be a heated moment, it may be a lot going on, it may be too many people in the room, maybe I don't want to say it in front of a group, I just want to say it to that person, like there's an argument going on, I don't want to add flame to a fire that's already going on. How do you get back to that moment with that person to say, this is what I felt like you shouldn't have done in that moment, or this is, you know what I'm saying? Like, how do you get back there?
Well, I think in a moment where you're not having all that chaos, when you're not having all the disruption, you're not having a whole bunch of people, you say, hey, remember we had that conversation, I just want to, go back to that. So you're not in the middle of the heat. In the vulnerable moment when you guys are sharing with each other, you're on one-on-one. I think that should be the safe space and the space that y'all create.
Or I think even if you are in that moment and everything is going on and you're bothered by it, I think even in that moment you can say, you know what, at some point we're going to need to get together and just leave it at that. Yeah. And then when you get together, you can come back and say, you remember when I said this, so let's meet up for, how we do. Let's meet up for happy hour. We just going to chop it up. And that's
me and you. That ain't me and everybody.
I know.
Y'all have a relationship.
As a married couple, there are times where we live in the same house and we have to separate and then come back a day or two later or a week later and discuss something that happened. Mm-hmm. So it's not just with friends, but it's also in a relationship where you share the same space.
Mm-hmm. And I think too, like, you got to look at your relationship with the person. Like, all relationships ain't the same, right? Mm-hmm. I made it clear that I don't have friends. I have sisters and brothers. So that relationship is bigger than like a friendship.
You scared me for a minute there. I was just like, well, why are you?
but no, like when you it's all more in life. Like, this trust thing just don't start when you start dating and meeting people and growing up with people. This starts from birth. Mm-hmm. What you've been exposed to. So what you've been exposed to can shape and mold your life. That can put a handicap on you. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then when you got these handicaps and these stop signs, it cripple your life. Mm-hmm. It cripple your growth. So, like, I had to really go back and say, hey, look, I need to self-check myself. Mm-hmm. Men develop trust different than women. Mm-hmm. What might bother a woman, a man might be like, yeah, for real. Yeah, I'm gonna still go to sleep whether we have an argument or not. It's still playing in her mind. Yeah. So that is still playing in her mind. What I had to develop is when certain stuff coming in, I ain't getting my way, she ain't getting no way, I grab her quick and say, let's pray. That diffuses. You got to build something that diffuses where it won't break down the trust, that the trust will be buried up.
Like, you can say, like, this is what we do, we're going to pray. But if she's not buying into that, right. You can now, it's just like, you think.
Oh, yeah, we ain't praying about that.
You think that's going to just fix everything. She might be a believer, but at the same time, no, let's talk too. Mm-hmm. But you guys are buying into each other, and that's the important part about that's the trust. Right. I trust you that we're going to pray, but we're still going to deal with this issue.
I think one of the things from whether it be a married relationship, whether it be just a dating relationship, whatever, is how your trust in that relationship deals with external forces. Mm-hmm. So, because there's a lot of people, there's a lot of voices, there's a lot of everything that's going to get
everybody got an opinion.
Everybody got an opinion about something. Everybody getting everybody else's ear. Is how you stand up to that will be a test of every trust in every relationship. Because it becomes a problem. Everybody deals with it. It's called peer pressure when you're young. It's called whatever when you're an adult. So
we can make up a name for it.
Yeah.
and you bring up a good point because that drives a lot of who we are and what we do. Right. The voices we choose to listen to, whether it's from our past or something we've watched and seen on TV, and now that's what we're listening to or mimicking, or just the people we choose to have around us. So I agree with you. It is a lot of who we've been around and what we choose to listen to that drives us.
In a professional setting, they call it influences. They call it life influence.
This is what happens when you're around professional.
You call it inception as in adulthood.
I'm just going to stick with the professional. Well, there has been so much great conversation that I decided to split this episode into two. So join me next week for part 2 of Trust at Dee's Place. Oh, and Paul has written a book. It's his first book. It's called Dear Future Wife. So stop by his website. I put it below and pick up a copy. I'm sure you'll enjoy the read. See you next week at Dee's Place. It's a safe space.